Welcome to another Kentucky Derby contender profile. In this video, we're going to be talking about Endlessly.
Trust the Profits is proud to be sponsored by Game of Silks. Go to silks.io to get in the game. Real ownership, real races, real rewards.
Sure, bad coffee.
So let's take a look here at Endlessly. This is a horse who I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about coming into the Kentucky Derby. So I'm here to give you my opinion on Endlessly. First, let's take a look here at his connections. He is owned and bred by Ammerman Racing, trained by Michael McCarthy, be ridden by Umberto Rispoli in the Kentucky Derby. He's earned over $700,000 and ranks 7th on the Kentucky Derby leaderboard with 100 points. So how did he get here? He broke his maiden on debut at Del Mar July 30th, going a mile on the turf. And this was a really professional effort. I was at the picnic tables at Saratoga the day after, and our very own SPN, Sean, came up and was like, you got to check out this horse. This horse named Endlessly. He just broke his maiden at Del Mar. He looked so good. He had to wait behind horses. He just broke through and just exploded. It was a really professional effort. And it sure was. And then he followed it up with 2 more graded stakes wins on the turf in Southern California, winning by 2¼ lengths in both the Del Mar Juvenile Turf and the Zuma Beach Stakes. He went from there to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf and finished a kind of puzzling 8th. There really wasn't a whole lot that went wrong. He just kind of didn't fire that day for whatever reason. But he came back in 2024 and has done nothing wrong. He won the El Camino Real Derby at Golden Gate, and then shipped to Turfway Park and earned his Derby berth via a win in the Jeff Ruby Stakes by 4 lengths. It was a very impressive effort. So there are some notes to have here about him, though. We know he has an excellent turn of foot on the turf, and he's pretty good on the synthetic, too. If he can replicate that on dirt, this kind of acceleration can be a really powerful weapon in the Kentucky Derby. He's shown that he can handle traffic. He runs kind of mid-pack in most of his races. He's shown that he doesn't mind kind of having to come up and wait for room or go wide to get around horses. One thing that is a little bit concerning is he's basically been running very similar Brisnet figures since last October. You're looking at a horse who in the Zuma Beach ran in 90, then he ran an 89 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, a 93 in the El Camino Real, and a 91 in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. So has he improved really as a 3-year-old is a little bit of a question here. And of course, the big question here is dirt. Can he run on the dirt? After the Jeff Ruby, Michael McCarthy stated that the Derby was not under consideration for Endlessly, that he was kind of a lackluster, average, workman-like horse on dirt. But according to reports that this most recent work at Churchill Downs, Umberto Rispoli was really fond of the way he got over the Churchill Downs track in that 4 furlong in 47-4 breeze on April 26th. So maybe the Churchill track is a little bit different. We obviously horses have had success coming from that Turfway synthetic to the Kentucky Derby. You have Winter Animal Kingdom. Last year, 2 fills ran a bang-up second out of the Jeff Ruby. So there's definitely some precedent for horses doing well switching to dirt. But the fact that the trainer it seems like this is a little bit of an owner decision. His owners are elderly, and this is their first Kentucky Derby horse, so it makes sense that they want to try and take a shot to have the experience of having a horse, a homebred in the Kentucky Derby. But the trainer's reservations are definitely something that make me a little worried about how he might handle the dirt. In order to win the dirt, I think win on the dirt in the Derby, I think that he needs to showcase that kind of acceleration he showed in the Jeff Ruby, where he kind of was waiting. He started to be asked, but then like when he kicked in, he just whooped right up and looked really good doing it. And he needs to actually, I think, improve speed figures wise on the dirt. His Brisnet high figure of 93 and Beyer high of 91, those aren't really good enough against this field to win the Kentucky Derby. So he's going to need to not only be able to replicate his turf races, but improve on them in here, which is definitely a big question mark. And as far as pedigree goes, this pedigree does lean turf, but there are reasons to think that dirt would be an option. I highlighted this horse on my blog earlier this year and mentioned that I would be curious to see him on the dirt in the future. Now, I wasn't necessarily thinking try the dirt for the first time in the Kentucky Derby, but, you know, if you have a Derby horse, you want to try the Derby. His sire, Oscar Performance, was a grade 1 winner at 2, 3, and 4 on the turf. He was a 2-time grade 1 winner at 10 furlongs as a 3-year-old. His dam, Dream Forever by Langfear, was unraced, but she's a half to the dam of Act a Fool, another son of Oscar Performance, who was a stakes winner on turf and a 2-time allowance winner on dirt. So that's a 3/4 sibling to Endlessly, who is a 2-time winner on dirt. Given Allowance Company versus Kentucky Derby, there's a big gap there. But there's reason to think, not to mention the fact that 4 of Oscar Performance's 10 stakes winners have won stakes on dirt. Horses like Red Carpet Ready and Tumbarumba are by Oscar Performance. And I don't think distance is going to be an issue here. The average winning distance for Oscar Performance's offspring is 7.39 furlongs. So if anything, at least the distance shouldn't be an issue. And there is pedigree there suggesting that dirt might be okay, even though the pedigree definitely leans turf. There's, a French bred mare as the second dam. So that's obviously turf there on the further on the bottom. But Oscar Performance is a versatile sire. Pace profile. So this horse is a mid-pack runner. And one thing that I did notice as I was really intensely reviewing his footage is he can be a little bit sticky, for lack of a better word, out of the gate. He'll break and he'll be kind of on the wrong lead, and he'll have to take a stride or two on the wrong lead and then switch over. And it hasn't been an issue for him in these smaller fields, but something like that could be just enough to get him in trouble in the Kentucky Derby. If, horse like West Saratoga to his inside or Domestic Product to his outside, if they have any kind of shifting, I think that those 1 or 2 strides that he kind of takes where he recovers well, and it hasn't really impeded him so far, but it's showing kind of that mentally he's not necessarily prepared always for the start. Even though physically he's going forward, he's not on his correct lead. He's, oh, wait, yeah, no, I have to do it this way. So that's a little bit of a concern for me for a horse in a race like the Kentucky Derby exclusively. Like I said, it hasn't bothered him yet. It hasn't really caused any issues. But in that field with all of that commotion, the roar of the crowd, this 20 horses, the fact that he's been in this whole the walkover and the paddock and all of this, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him need those couple of strides where he comes out of the gate on his wrong lead and then he has to switch over and is kind of off kilter mentally coming out of the gate. And I expect that, he's shown that he doesn't mind being in and around horses. So I think he'll be able to recover from that. But I'm not sure that is conducive to him running his best race in the Kentucky Derby. Taking a look at his speed figures, his last out Brisnet figure was a 91 in the Jeff Ruby, and his top Brisnet figure is a 94 in the El Camino Real. And as I said, those really aren't quite fast enough. That 94 Brisnet figure tops only 5 other horses in the field, and that includes AEs like Mugatu. So there's definitely some questions there. He needs to improve on speed figures in order to really be a top contender. So for a Derby projection, this is obviously a very talented horse, and I think he has a big future, but I'm not sure this is a Kentucky Derby horse. His pedigree, like I said, suggests that dirt could be an option, but handling a new surface in the chaos of a 20-horse field and the just chaos in general of the Kentucky Derby day is really asking a lot. And even his performances on synthetic to start the year don't put him in the top cut if he just replicates those. So I think this horse has a nice future on the turf. And I think at best, we can hope that maybe he'll get 10th, 11th, 12th. I don't really see him outperforming that tier in the Kentucky Derby. But maybe you disagree. So let me know what you think of Endlessly. If this is a horse that you're interested in for the Derby, if this is a horse that you're just going to completely toss, maybe use underneath, let me know what you think. And until next time, thanks so much for watching.